It's your daily dose of Donna. Happy Valentine's Day. It is February 14th, Tuesday, only Tuesday. Jeez, this week is already so long. Um, wow, Valentine's Day. I have to start today. Well, I have to say, just honestly, this day feels somber. It feels somber for me. And I understand that some people listening to this podcast, some people watching live on TikTok have no idea, who I'm talking about when I talk about Dave Hollis. But this is Daily Dose of Donna. And I would imagine that most of the people that listen to this podcast have some idea kind of who Rachel Hollis is. And if you know me and if you know my brand, I am where I am right now. And I say this all the time because of following and loving Rachel Hollis back in 2015-16. So just a little bit of a background before I get into the story about Dave Hollis and his untimely death at 47 years old. My story with Rachel Hollis, I found Rachel Hollis right before she went viral for the first time in 2015. So she had a little bit of like a lifestyle blog. I think it was called the Chic Site, like CHIC. She had yeah, that's all it was. It was just a blog and like an Instagram account. She was just a mom that liked to talk about like entrepreneurship or party planning and like cooking and baking. And I thought she was cute. Like I was like, she's an adorable person to follow, right? This was when I was into blogs and all of that. And then she had this viral picture that was taken in 2015 of her on a beach in Mexico or Hawaii, who knows what, with some stretch marks on her belly. And she went viral. Today's Show picked it up. All these people picked it up and her career kind of exploded. And then all of a sudden it turned into more of a lifestyle brand. Rachel Hollis slowly became more of a name rather than just being the Chic Site. It was Rachel Hollis. And eventually she and her husband became kind of together on these lives. So her husband, Dave Hollis, had this career working at Disney. Now, I'm in Los Angeles. So just kind of like put yourself where I am. I'm in Los Angeles and I lived at the time in an area called Toluca Lake, which is like right by the studios. It's right by Burbank. It's right by Disney. And I worked in the entertainment industry. I used to be a casting director. So I was friends with a lot of people who knew Dave and who knew Rachel. And there was a lot of connections. And actually, I did meet Rachel Hollis one time. It's a long story, but I did meet her in her office. I went over to her office in Glendale. And I was a huge fan, right? So Dave Hollis became kind of part of the brand. So he would start showing up to these live mornings. She would go every single morning at I think 6 a.m. She would do these lives on Instagram. And at the time there was literally, or maybe Facebook, and the time there was literally 100 people there. She was not that big yet. She had not written Girl Wash Your Face, which is like her big breakout book. And Dave would sometimes be there and sometimes not. Actually, at the beginning, he kind of wasn't. I remember she would always say to him, like, are you going to the gym now or should I go now? Like, it's kind of like what I do a little bit during in my life, like with my husband, you wake up early. It's like, who's going to the gym? Who's staying here with the kids? Whatever. So she would be live and then Dave started to join the lives. Before you know it, Dave started to kind of have his own Instagram personality. And all of a sudden, I remember opening Deadline, which is like a entertainment news kind of like the trades for entertainment news. And it says Dave Hollis is quitting his, huge position over at the Disney, not Disney Channel, at Disney Studios to become the CEO or the COO or whatever of the Hollis Co., which is Rachel's brand. So he left his big job to become partners with his wife. They eventually moved to Austin, Texas. We're watching all of this unfold because you have to understand, as someone like me who was just starting my new business at this time, right? This is 2017. I'm just starting my new business. I am a little bit like, flailing with self-help stuff. I need a little bit of guidance. I'm going through all my shit. And Rachel to me was in my opinion at that time was like teaching me a lot of important life goals, right? Wake up early, drink lots of water, exercise every day, go after your goals, write your gratitude journal, like all these things. She also had, products, she had conferences. you could say whatever you want about her. This is before everything that went down in the last couple of years, but she helped me. I am 100% where I am in my business because of following Rachel Hollis in those early years. Now, Dave then became kind of more of a lifestyle brand himself. So he had his own, Instagram following. And they, during the pandemic, or right before the pandemic, would come on and do these morning lives together. It was like the morning show with Dave and Rach. And it was a daily thing. Like they had a podcast and I was watching it, and it became one of those things that I felt like was part of my daily routine. Okay. June of 2020, out of nowhere, maybe it was July of 2020, out of nowhere, there is a notification. Rachel Hollis posts something. Rachel Hollis and Dave Hollis are getting a divorce, shocking the world. That anyone that followed them, like everyone is surprised, right? This is a brand new, development, that they even were unhappy because everyone felt like the social media of it all was that everything was fine and everything was great. And they were actually even, they had a podcast called Rise Together, and they talked about their marriage and everything. So this was a little bit shocking. Then comes a lot of problematic things that happen with Rachel. I'm not going to get into that, but her career took a nosedive very soon after. Meanwhile, Dave Hollis was showing up more than ever, right? All of a sudden now his Instagram was every day, right? Tons of stories, tons of content. He starts dating Heidi Powell, who is also a big influencer, more of like a fitness influencer, who was going through a public divorce as well. And so a lot of people were really kind of rooting for the two of them together. They get together. And then they decide to show everything on social media. And this is, I think, where things got a little bit tricky, because in the last couple of years, Heidi Powell is a very, public figure on social. Like there's no filter, essentially. There's lots of filters, but there's no filter of what she was sharing. And so you were seeing all of Dave. You were seeing all of Dave's ups and downs. You were seeing all his feelings about the divorce. You were seeing them together on vacations. You were seeing the kids. And then, you were seeing like a lot of, okay, I'm going to share something that's probably a little bit private, but it's okay, I think, at this point. I had messaged Heidi Powell to be on my podcast, Show Up on Video. I have another podcast. I had messaged her to be on my podcast probably a year ago. Yeah, probably around a year ago, maybe a little bit less. And she messaged me back and said, absolutely, we had it on the schedule. Then she messaged me the morning of, and she left me a voice message crying. Okay. I am so sorry. Things have been too hard for me right now. I can't do it. Sure enough, so this is actually probably more like 6 months ago or 8 months ago. I can't really remember exactly. Sure enough, about a week later, it comes out that Dave Hollis is in rehab, her boyfriend, right? That we're talking about. Apparently, he had an alcohol addiction. It was getting out of control. He went into rehab. He kind of fell off social media for a long time. And it was showing like a lot of rock bottom type of behavior. He finally kind of reappeared in the last few months. All of his content has been around his kids. You've seen him on self-development like retreats. You've seen him with all of the big coaches of the world, the Brendan Burchards and the Amy Porterfields and Jenna Kutchers and the Jay Shettys and Lewis Howes and Mel Robbins and all of those people, that circle. And in my opinion, from what I see, and let me just be 100% honest, I follow the Reddit Hollis Uncensored. Like I'm a fan of learning kind of the behind the scenes of what's happening in the Hollisville. If any of you guys are with me here right now, you may also feel this way. If there's any TikToks about it, if there's any content about it, I'm always like, what? I just want to know what's going on. Dave to me felt like a lost soul in the last few months, right? Like, and I'm not speculating on how he died or what. We've heard heart disease. I'm just taking it for what it is. But there's been a lot of, a little bit sad kind of behavior coming from him. He had a podcast about a month ago where he was talking, or even less, like literally end of January, where he was talking about how he went to church and he started to cry on his podcast. I mean, he was definitely going through a tough few months. And I was worried about him actually in a weird way. Like for someone that I didn't even know, I remember listening to this part of this podcast and I was like, where is he going to go from now? Right? He wrote one book and it did pretty good. Okay. And then he wrote a second book and it flopped. And then he wrote a children's book with his daughter, which is so cute, but I don't think that really went well. And then he's showing this like public display of kind of loss, like he became a bodybuilder, and then he became, you know, then he had the addiction. Like there was a lot of changes, and a lot of, showing too much on social media and then pulling back. And it didn't feel like a safe, happy, healthy situation. But one thing that always rang true was his love for his kids. So he has 4 kids. He had 4 kids, 3 boys and a daughter. And that was his content. Like that became his content. Everything he talked about was about his kids in the last few weeks. Like if you go to his Instagram, it's like all kids, all his obsession with his kids, going on vacations with them. It's like, it's actually so sad that I don't want to cry right now thinking about, but he literally turned his life into being there for his kids in the last few months. I don't think about Dave Hollis on a daily basis. I really don't. I don't wake up in the morning and say like, what's Dave Hollis up to? What's Rachel Hollis up to? But it's kind of like a guilty pleasure. I don't mean to say it like in a bad, negative way, but just like I watch Vanderpump Rules or Real Housewives, I like to kind of check in with the Hollis world and see what's going on with them. To open up my phone last night or to get a text from my sister yesterday with a Variety article to say that Dave Hollis has passed away at the age of 47 over the weekend was such a hit to my heart. The way that I gasped as if it was a personal friend of mine. And I don't know if any of you guys also have this experience out there, or like have felt this way about someone that you don't even know. I am devastated. I'm so devastated because I did feel like I know him. I really did. When someone is on social media daily, it's since 2017 or whatever, since you started following them, when you see their kids being born and when you see their kids growing up and when you see them moving and when you see them on their runs and we see them going on vacation and you see them talking about their struggles and you listen to them and you watch them and you see, and then they're just gone like that. It was so devastating and I am still so taken aback by it. And I am so sad for his kids, for his 4 kids. And I'm so worried about like, what does that mean? When I was sleeping last night, I kept waking up thinking about death. And I actually had a dream that my stepdad passed away, which was so weird. But I had this dream and I was like, I need to tell my stepdad I love him. I just need to tell him I love him. Because like for some reason, there's like that part of me that, we hear this time and time again, you guys. It's so freaking fragile, right? Like it's so fragile. Life is so fragile. And we don't know when our time is going to come. And it could be tomorrow and it could be in 17 years and it could be in 37 years. But at the end of the day, to wake up and hear such news. And if it's suicide, God forbid, sorry, trigger warning. If it's suicide, that is so confusing. Like the Twitch thing, oh my God, that threw me for a loop. Like I just was a mess over this. But then when you hear a 47-year-old and I'm 41 and my husband's 43 and like heart disease, and it's just so scary. So I just wanted to, take a day to talk about the fact that I don't know, just like sit together with anyone that also is feeling so like blown away by this news, how someone that is like so our peer and so present in our daily lives is just gone. That's it. Bye. It just makes you wonder. It makes you think. It makes you think about legacy. Mel Robbins had an amazing, beautiful post where she talked about his legacy was love. So I guess you can't go wrong if that is your legacy. If your legacy is love and you can die knowing that you were someone that loved people and that people loved you, that is all you can ask for. So anyway, happy Valentine's Day. Speaking of love, happy Valentine's Day. Give those who you love a call. Tell them you love them. Give them a hug. There's this one person that I work out with, and they told me that their love language was like gifts. Not gifts, sorry. Like acts of service, like thoughtful. They just wanted to feel like someone thought about them. And so I walked away from the gym and I sent them a Starbucks gift card. for $10, just like thinking about you. And the DM I got was heartbreaking, but also really special. So just do things like that to make people feel loved. I think it's going to make you feel better and it's going to make them feel better. And for Dave Hollis and Dave Hollis's family, all the love in the world. And man, a lot of people are feeling hurt today. So thanks, guys. I'm going to see you or talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for being here.